Hello and welcome back to Karma Stories. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today I'm jumping into some malicious compliance with 4 stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. So yeah, before we start, where's Rob been? Well, I've taken a little bit of time off and I apologize that it wasn't scheduled. I needed a bit of a mental health break. I've had a few things going on in my real life away from YouTube, and I'm still trying to resolve them, so my schedule might be a little sketchy, but I'm going to try and get these done as much as I can. Again, I apologize, and I thank you all for sticking with me. And especially on that note, to the 62 Karma crew members, wow, that jumped up over the last couple of days. I will get working on the story of Rick, and it will be out in a couple of days. Thank you again for your support. It means the world. Alright, on to today's stories. Let's jump right in. Have you ever had a boss so obsessed with control that they ignore every warning and then act shocked when it all blows up in their face? Yeah, that's exactly what's happened here. This story comes to us from Jollybad7892. Stick to the schedule. A few years ago, I was hired as a head of bar operations at a new restaurant opening. A hugely successful, even if quite average restaurant group, opening a new 3-floor, 280-seater restaurant. The opening was a bit of a crap show. I was drafted in late as they fired a lot of opening managers, which should have been a red flag big enough for me to pass on the opportunity, really. One of my many responsibilities was to write the rota schedule for our 30-odd bar staff. There were a few stipulations I had to stick to. Importantly, that I had to have a manager from the bar side on duty at all times. After a few weeks of doing so, a new area manager was hired who took over from the general manager on day-to-day operations. One of the things he implemented was that he would write the rotas and just generally micromanage. He subsequently uploads a rota when in the first week there were 2 days without a manager on duty. I highlighted this to him in person, where I was pretty rudely told to just do my job and work with what was passed down to me. In turn, I decided to email him, the general manager, and one of the company directors, explaining the issue and how it must just be an oversight, but attached a new proposed set of rotas that would fix the issue. The next day, the new area manager pins me in the office and again tells me how I'm going above my station and should just do my effing job and adhere to the rota. He said he'd amended and sorted it all, so I did. The following day is my day off. There was no manager on duty and a general lack of staff in the building. My phone starts going off from 8 a.m. and about 2 p.m. I decided to respond to some of the messages and highlight how I was doing what I was told. The next day, the area manager requests a sit-down meeting with a witness and fires me. Something he didn't have approval to do, given I don't report to him. I get my dismissal paperwork via email, and naturally say I have some issue with it due to the reasons I've outlined, and have the receipts to prove it. I ended up getting a pretty decent payout due to being unfairly dismissed. Another few days later, the new area manager has moved on from the business with immediate effect. I don't think he was able to find work throughout most of COVID subsequently. Jumping down to the comments on this one, we have one from a user called Lily Sinclair. It says, classic case of play stupid games, win expensive consequences. You warned them, followed orders to the letter, and let their own incompetence do the firing. Beautifully done. This is just another case of a manager who thinks that they're the big fish in the little pond, and that they have to do everything, even though there's people there that have done that job a lot longer than they have, and actually know what they're doing. I mean, come on. We know that a good manager is one that actually listens to their staff and works with them to get things done. That's obviously not what was happening in this case. OP, it sucks you got fired by somebody who didn't have the authority to do it in the first place, but I'm glad to hear you got a payout. When your boss starts micromanaging basic human needs like drinking water or using the bathroom, there's only one thing to do. Bring a doctor's note and make their life way more complicated. This story comes to us from OwnDragonfly942. Permission to drink water? Okay. I worked in fast fashion retail for 9 years on the tills. Every year, roughly, the store manager would decide that water bottles weren't allowed behind the tills, and we needed permission to go upstairs to have some. It would only last a couple of weeks before it became too hot in the summer and the rules changed back. The last time she tried putting this in place, I'd been diagnosed with diabetes and my vertigo had finally been recognized by my doctor. The main factors of both being, if I get too hot or don't have water, I can faint. I got told by my line manager, who's under the store manager, that I needed a written note from my doctor saying I needed it, and until that time, I couldn't have it with me. So I took a week off work saying it was causing health issues while I waited for my doctor to write me up a letter. I went back and had a sickness meeting with my line manager, and before sitting down, I passed her this letter, still in the sealed envelope. On the letter it said, £10 charge before giving to patient, and my manager looked horrified that I'd actually paid £10 to do what I'd been asked as evidenced by herself. At the time, my hourly wage was $9.50, and I didn't get paid for sick days, so that £10 letter ended up costing a week's wage too. The best part, in the letter, it was stated that I could use the toilets whenever I needed without asking, another rule, and could have a quick 5 to 10 minute paid break when I needed to check my sugars and have a snack or anything as needed. So I started doing exactly that. Even when I had a good day and I didn't need the snack, I went upstairs to just escape. This went on for about 3 years until I quit last year. The store manager, as far as I know, has never implemented the water bottle rule again or limited when employees can take toilet breaks. Apart from things like this, the store manager is a nice-ish woman, so it was always out of character when it came about. I still have a copy of the letter in case my current employer tries anything, but they're a pretty decent lot, so no worries there. There's other things from this place, but this one always stands out to me. Jumping down to the comments on this one, we have one from a user called Venusian Cyber Sleuth. It says, "It's really effed up when a boss thinks they can dictate their employees' bodily functions." Another commenter called Dendrocolamidicus said, "What is the malicious compliance here? They asked you to get a doctor's note, and you maliciously effed yourself out of a week's pay and a tenner to comply? Honestly, don't really get the impression you stuck it to them here. You got screwed over complying with their ridiculous instructions, and they lost nothing." Alright listeners, I'm curious to know what you think in this one. Was it malicious compliance or was it not? Do you think that OP just screwed themselves over, or they actually got the message through to the boss that was trying to force them not to have water at the front desk? When leadership refuses to listen to the person who actually knows how the system works, sometimes the best move is to let them fail, very slowly, until they beg for help. This story comes to us from aggravating.5217. Sometimes people know what they are talking about. Here we have an IT story. One of my many tasks is to create specific document templates that will be used by the company to show off achievements. For some unknown reason, those that are in the higher-up suites decided to change the look of the certificates. I am given a copy of the certificate and told to update the system that will do the printing. I start off by taking the existing certificate and try to match the new certificate to the template. After much frustration, I decide that I will have to start over and spend some time redesigning the document template from scratch. It takes a bit longer than I expected, and when I did my first prints, the various fields were out of line. This is tedious work as it means checking, moving the elements by little increments. I get everything aligned except for the date, and no matter what I try, the date will not move up or down. I ask some of the guys in our development department, and none of them can figure this one out. We are all stumped. I do some research and discover that the problem is the renderer, the program that takes the template and inserts the data for those non-IT people. One of the issues that it raised is that the renderer has a bug that will move items around at random, and unless placed in a fixed location, will just keep on changing the template. The changes are very minute, probably no more than 1 or 2 millimeters. I send the higher-ups an email explaining all of this after. I had reached a serious point of frustration, as this task should have taken about half a day, and I've now been at it for 2 days. I send my boss an email explaining what the problem is and if they may know somebody that can help. Next thing, I'm called into a Teams meeting with the higher-ups and asked what the problem is. I explain everything. The higher-ups tell me to open the original template and we will redo that to match the new certificate. I follow instruction and keep adding my few cents worth. I'm then told to do what I am told and get on with it. I'm also told that I must stop any other work. Now comes the malicious compliance part. I do as I am told, make the changes as requested. We work line by line and make the changes. We then check that the change is correct on the certificate. I am asked to print the completed template document to the printer in their office. No problem, I do as I'm told. I stop responding to emails, doing other work while waiting for the people from the other office to do their thing and tell me what the next set of changes are. This goes on for nearly a week. The higher-ups are losing their mind because every time we change one thing, other things go out of alignment, and we need to go back and fix them. When I'm not sitting at my desk looking at my computer screen, I am doing a bit of research to see if I can find a solution, but not saying anything to anyone. Remember what I was told. I'm having dinner with the family and mention this to my son. He is a software developer. He asks if he can look at the code and tells me that the code that I had been working on for the higher-ups is seriously wrong. He gives me some tips on how to fix it so that the elements are locked in and will not move. I sit down in just over an hour. I produce a new set of code that needs to be tested to see if it is robust enough. Now for the outcome. Today I go into the office, get pulled into a Teams meeting again to continue with the product that isn't working. I make a passing comment that my son helped me with the template and has put in more robust settings. The higher-ups reluctantly agree to try, as they say we have nothing to lose. We made the first print and one of the items was out of alignment, made a change, and the item held its position. Took a few hours and the template is now working like it's supposed to. I even got a well done from the higher-ups. Sometimes there are others who know what they are talking about. Jumping down to the comments on this one, we have one from a very common commenter called CoderJoe1. It says, I doubt they learned anything from this experience. Another commenter down below called Anna V said, your son hopefully learned an important lesson. He helped a big company, which then proceeded to thank someone else. Your son didn't get a penny, you didn't get a penny, but the company saved big time by getting you back to work and out of that doomed project. Yeah, I'm not sure really what OP proved in this situation because all they did was tell the higher-ups that their son figured it out and that OP wasn't competent enough to figure it out themselves. OP, I would have taken that credit for myself and not brought my son into the equation, and I would probably compensate my son on my own to let them know how appreciative I was that they figured out what the issue was. Your son doesn't work for that company, they don't need praise from that company, but they're your son and they helped you, so that is completely on you. If someone is trying to sabotage you at work, don't argue. Just document everything, especially when your boss is a former Navy SEAL who knows how to strike back. This story comes to us from CJ Dubé. Documentation will save your cookies. So, I was a contractor in a government office. My background is extensive, starting with multiple engineering degrees and many years of designing, building, and operation of remotely operated vehicles, ROVs. There was constant personnel churn in the office, and the contractors were the corporate memory. It's an interesting situation. I always likened it to a feudal society. Staffers, direct government employees were the royalty, and the contractors were the serfs. Sometimes it was bothersome, but the position paid very well, so that was some benefit. Most of the time, the staffers knew they were in way over their heads and gladly accepted our advice. A woman staffer arrived one day as head of the department that managed our outside service contractors. Typically, I played a large advisory role in dealing with these folks as someone familiar with the industry and able to call BS, if you will. Well, this woman decided that I was conspiring behind her back with the contractors virtually on the first day there. Why, I never knew, but it was what it was. Luckily, I didn't answer to her. I answered to a guy who in a former life was a member of SEAL Team 6. Basically, a trained killer. Great guy, he liked me a lot, and we got along well together. When the foo-foo started, he pulled me aside and said, "Document everything you do." So I did as he suggested. I had a notebook and OneNote that I would record whatever I did that involved this woman, including her increasingly antisocial behavior towards me. We would be in meetings, and not only would she not look at me when I asked her direct questions, she wouldn't answer. Sometimes this happened, and then there was this dead silence until someone else spoke. About this time, we got a new division manager who was very personnel sensitive. He was a PhD type in an operations role and completely out of his league, so he regressed to what he knew, making the office kinder and gentler. This was quite a challenge as we had an office full of ex-Navy types, and they weren't exactly used to being kinder and gentler. In a short period of time, the woman in question had skewered 5 other males in the office in her short tenure, with the result of them departing the office, both staff and contractors. I would have been her 6th if she had gotten her way. So there was a lot of concern about my position. My boss was in my office one day talking about the latest antisocial behavior demonstrated by this woman. He made a comment, "Boy, I wish I had documentation of all this." I laughed, went to my computer, and printed off a 20-page dissertation on all the stupidity. His eyes lit up. "Come with me," he said. We went into the office of the new director, and my boss gave him my dossier. It took him a bit to read through it all. I had used the word harassment, which turned out to be the magic word in description of many of the episodes. He said, "I think harassment is too strong a word for this behavior." I asked him if a contractor was exhibiting this behavior towards a staffer, what would you call it? He didn't answer the question. About a week later, the woman was reassigned to a different organization. I always say, it's not good to go head to head with a trained killer. Laugh out loud. Does anybody else feel like this is a recurring theme on these stories over and over and over again? Document everything, because you never know when you're going to need it, or, like in OP's case, when your boss is going to need it to get rid of somebody that's causing problems in the office. OP, I wish we got to see the look on your boss's face when you printed out all those papers with all of the dirt to get that person fired. That would have been amazing. If you enjoyed this episode, I encourage you to follow us on your podcasting platform of choice, or if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and please drop a like on the video because it tells YouTube that we're doing a good job. I thank you for watching and listening. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.